Jonathan Turner alongside Ryan Glinsky as well. And joined now by Paul Kramer, the Forest Hill Central head coach and head of the Rangers. And Paul, first off, welcome to Inside the Game.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. And so, Paul, first and foremost, talk about the Rangers and the start of this season and so far how things are rolling.
It's been a good start. It was a hectic start. We started up at the Boyne Mountain Invite after a very short calendar year to begin things. I think Monday we had tryouts. By Friday we were on a bus heading up to Boyne. 5 games up there. Very good competition. Birmingham Sea Home, Detroit Country Day, New Boston Huron, and to fight through that unscathed, barely. And to come back down and play, a perennial power like South Christian, Rockford, and then Forest Hills Northern Monday night. It's kind of been a gauntlet, but the boys have shown their resiliency. They've really bonded together. That trip up north was excellent from a team bonding standpoint. And, we've been able to get off to a really good start because of it.
Seems like you guys have created a level of camaraderie and togetherness from what I collected from obviously with you guys a very short time last year, but we're following along very closely from what I watched, even in just those handful of games that I did. Now, obviously, you guys have Amir Bektis covering your games. Very proud of that guy. He's a hard worker, man, and obviously played high school soccer once upon a time, so he's plugged into the soccer scene at the same time. One of the biggest things that I saw out of you, though, you guys had some young players out there not only representing but going out and producing, and it's becoming more and more competitive here on the west side of the state to be able to break through and have success specifically in the postseason. Is there anybody that's kind of surprised you in what they've been able to do here very early into the season on your roster?
So getting to your point about the balance, we're a team that's made up of 9 seniors, I think 6 or 7 juniors, and the rest are sophomores. It is probably the most balanced attack I've had since I've been here at Forest Hill Central. Surprise might not. I mean, I've gotten to watch these guys all summer long in workouts and scrimmages and all these things. So surprise might be a little bit of an overstatement, but I think Jake Ben Backert's younger brother, has been an absolute force for us coming in as a super sophomore, and what he's been able to contribute. I think he's got 7 goals, 7 assists to this point, just 1 goal under his brother Ben. But I mean, we've had contributions all across the board. I think we've only had, aside from the goalkeepers, 2 kids that haven't scored yet on this team. So the balance has been maybe more of a surprise than maybe Jake's own contribution level. And, that's what makes this team so special.
We're obviously looking at some highlights here from this past week. The biggest challenge on the west side of the state, there have been some powerhouse schools, right? And when you talk about Division II, Unity Christian right now in there, the opportunity to go deep in a playoff run is very challenging because your districts are pretty stacked, right? You're talking about getting out of that district is extremely difficult. But once you do, it opens things up. It's like almost like the state championship takes place in the districts. How are you able to manage that part of this? Because I would imagine, like when I was in high school, and I'm sure Nate the same way, when you're in these environments and you're expected to win soccer games, you're expected to get to a state championship, you're expected to win a district championship. When they have these really, really difficult districts, it makes it so difficult. And how do you keep your players motivated on that aspect? Because sometimes it's almost like a punch in the gut, right? Where I got to face this team. We got to face them again in the district final. I mean, my goodness, I'm curious how you handle that aspect of this.
Well, I mean, you are correct, John. We have some very, very stocked programs here on the west side of the state. You spoke about Unity. I spoke about South, Spring Lake in the past, and just in our conference, the OK White, I mean, geez, oh, Pete's, you have had Grand Rapids Christian that's won 2 state titles. EGR there was on a run of going to the Elite 8 for, I think, 3 years in a row. And obviously Northern went to the state championship last year and knocked us out in the district semi, which, was a definite gut punch because I thought we were the two best teams in the area. Um, it for me, it's always been a game by game mindset. I don't think you can go any further than that. When you play these teams, now twice in league and then you see them again in district, I think that the best thing you can do is just tell the boys to keep focusing on their task and focusing on their job at hand. You play team X, that's the team we play next. If you get too focused on, oh no, it's Central or Northern or it's Christian or, whoever the case may be, I think the bigger issue is just getting boys to hone in on what they need to do on the field the best that they can. And really the rest will take care of itself at that point.
You look at this Division II right now. Here are the state rankings, right? Obviously, De La Salle, who won the state championship last year. You've got Unity Christian. You've got you. Then below that, you've got Allendale, Forest Hills Northern, Muskegon Reeds Puffer, Grand Rapids Christian, Holland. St. Joe. 8 of these 15 teams are from the west side of the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
It's a gauntlet.
It is a gauntlet. It is a gauntlet, and it makes me proud to be a coach on the west side of the state that we have that representation. A lot of those teams that you mentioned, I know those coaches. Many of them are what I consider colleagues, friends. So I'm happy that it's a good representation of what the west side is about. And you can go even further than that. And just the history of West Michigan soccer on this side. Rockford went to the state championship a couple years ago against Adams. East Kentwood, obviously, with what John Conlon did there. There's a lot of history from the west side of the state. And, I every year that I see, listings like this, it makes me proud to be a part of that.
And the landscape has changed remarkably too. You're seeing the West Side really compete a lot with the East Side in that regard, and really that's something I think you can stretch across sports. You even look at football is the same exact way, continue to develop really well over here. I think the population's getting larger too. I think that helps. You got a lot of people moving in, but in terms of the soccer scene, and this was something we talked about, JTU and I, when we had our preseason rankings, especially in Division II. The West Side's starting to really gain a foothold. I wanted to ask you this because this is something that I talked about on the broadcast when I was covering you guys, but never actually got the opportunity to talk to you directly about it, Paul. But your story is one that fascinates me in a lot of ways because you're originally from Michigan. And then MLive wrote up a piece on you, and they were talking about your family and moving away from Michigan. And the explanation as to why they did that was very simple. It was very straightforward. They didn't like the winters. They saw how cold it was. They wanted to get the hell out of here. Frankly, I don't blame them. That's an amazing reason to leave. I wish that was reason enough for me to get the heck out of here. But you guys went to Hawaii, and you spent a good chunk of your life there, graduated there, played there. But then there was a little section of your life where you stepped away from the game of soccer and just being a young man trying to build a life, and then slowly worked your way back into it. Not only that, but came back to Michigan at the same exact time. And now you're coaching at the high school level, and we're seeing the level of talent and the depth that has come from that. I know this is a loaded question, but how much has the landscape changed over the course of your lifetime on the west side of the state? And I guess what was it like living in Hawaii for a little bit?
Well, that's a loaded question. As far as the landscape level, it's absolutely changed. So to kind of touch a little bit on my story, yeah, I was born here in Michigan. About the time I was 10, 11, 12 years old, my parents had decided that the white stuff in the wintertime was enough for them, sold their business. Bought some land in Hawaii, built a house, went to high school out there, and was actually supposed to go to Central Michigan on a scholarship to play soccer. This was 1992. And at that time, they had, discontinued their men's program. At that time, there was no emails, no letters, or it was a letter from the head coach 2 weeks before I was supposed to fly to Michigan saying that the program had been discontinued. So, at that point, I wound up going to Calvin University, wound up playing there for a year, being a 5'9" goalkeeper. It's not exactly the most beneficial size to be that position, but it was the best decision I ever made. But just thinking back upon the level of where I was at, where other guys were at, and seeing where kids are at now at 16, 17, 18 years old, it's mind boggling just across the board how skilled, how athletic these kids are. I used to think I was a decent goalkeeper in high school, but I see what some of these goalkeepers now are doing and field players, and it's awesome to see. But it definitely shows your wear as far as your age and what you thought you were back in the day. But no, Hawaii was a great experience. Still have a lot of friends back there. All my family has now moved back to the mainland. And one of these days I'll get back there again. But yeah, it was an awesome upbringing.
First off, I can't. We talked about this kind of like in the before the show started about your backdrop. So for clear purposes, we want to make sure we explain this. You are not using a green screen right now. You are just on your back porch in West Michigan.
Yeah, so this is probably my favorite place to be when we get mid spring to mid to late fall. You have this backdrop here, and we got 2.5 acres of what I call my serenity, where I get away. During soccer season, I watch game film out here. I do practice planning. And at night I hang out with my wife and watch a movie or just catch up on the day, have a glass of wine with her, and got the fire table if it gets a little too nipply out. But no, this is my piece of heaven on earth for sure.
JT, I got to tell you, man, he's got a point. The tree to human being ratio over here on the west side is just great. A lot of trees around, a lot of bushes. You can actually get away and escape into the woods once in a while if you want. Tree to human being ratio over here on the west side is just great. A lot of trees around, a lot of bushes. You can actually get away and escape into the woods. It's hard, man. Build the west side's the best side.
Agree with you. Our family will oftentimes travel to Saugatuck, and we'll head out to Lake Michigan. I think it's Saugatuck like national whatever, like Saugatuck State Park, whatever, dunes, whatever it is. But we go there all the time and we love it. It's a 3-hour drive and it's worth it. So absolutely. Paul, man, we are obviously a huge supporter of what you're doing there at Forest Hill Central. You guys obviously on a tear so far this season. Last time I looked, 8-0-1 is currently where you are at. You had a tie against Rockford here on the 22nd, a 3-3 tie. On Monday, you guys did win against Grand Rapids Forest Hills Northern, 5-3. I'm sure that's going to have some impact on the rankings as well. But Paul, man, we appreciate you stopping by and being a part of Inside the Game.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.